I call that the boondoggle zone. I have this, it's called the yield leverage quadrant. Bottom left is the startup zone. Most network marketers never leave the startup zone. Well, a lot of leaders that you see on Instagram these days, that you see on TikTok or on the socials, flaunting that they're the top producers, secretly they are in quadrant number 2. They're in the burnout zone. They become customer support reps for their entire teams. They're answering their phones at all hours, jumping on Zoom calls, constantly on email. They figured out how to get results one to many, but they didn't figure out how to teach that to their team and create true leverage. I call that the freedom zone. And very few people actually get there.
We are Attraction Marketing. Welcome. What is up, my friends? Welcome to the Attraction Marketing Show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Great for you to be with us. I am your host, JT DeBolt, and I am very excited to bring to you a conversation that I personally have been looking forward to very much. I think you're going to enjoy this. A little eavesdropping, if you will, with one of the industry pioneers, a true legend in and of himself, one of the founders of attractionmarketing.com, but more importantly, one of the pioneers of the attraction marketing movement inside not just the network marketing space, but really the digital marketing space as we look at it broadly and globally. I'm excited to have on the show with us today. You guys are going to love this conversation. One of my dear friends, one of my favorite human beings on the whole entire planet Earth and the known universe, the one and only Mr. TJ Erway. You guys are going to have to give it up. Give it up for TJ. TJ, come on out, my friend. Let's chop it up a little.
Hey,
How you doing, man?
what's happening, brother?
Now, look, I want to dive straight into this, but before we do, I think people need to kind of understand you've got a long history inside the industry. If I may, I'm going to just give like a very brief sort of who you are, but you're probably going to have to fill in some gaps. I
Sure.
met you back, I think it was 2016. I think it was 2016. Maybe even, yeah, I think 2016. You were at an event mentoring one of our students who was a dear friend of mine. She was putting on her first event. It was a big event, like a pretty significant in-person event. And I had known of you for a while, both just kind of being a network marketer myself. Then even after I departed the industry and went into coaching and speaking, I knew about you, but I didn't know you personally. And then we hit it off, man. Like I felt like right off the bat, it was as if we had cosmically collided. We'd known each other for like eons, and it was just like this reconnecting over maybe a couple of beverages. I don't remember. But you
Possibly.
had at that point, you guys were kind of rocking and rolling with this thing. And since then, we've had a lot in common, love for all kinds of stuff, background. And, you're a Coast Guard guy. I'm a Navy guy. We both love, all kinds of, common interests, which I'm sure we'll get into. You're a BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido. I don't know what else. You got like 18 black belts. So there's that. Very diverse background, dude, but somebody who, quite frankly, if I'm being real, you and I usually end up laughing like Beavis and Butthead about inappropriate stuff. So let's just jump in and talk a little bit about the TJ that people don't know yet. What say you? What's your tell us a little bit more about how you grew up and how you came to be here.
Sure, man. So am I going like way back or what?
Way back to the day you were born. Do you remember that?
Perfect. Oh, I absolutely remember that. Yeah. No, totally fine. I will go back to where it makes sense. Let's see. I will say this: school sucked. I hated school. I failed at classes. I got kicked out of regular school. First, I got put into special education when I was a kid because they thought I was slow. I just didn't like authority. I was angry. Frankly, I grew up in a pretty violent um, neighborhood, violent home at times, drugs, alcohol, you name it. Don't want to go there right now, but I was just an angry kid. I didn't like school, didn't like authority. And so I just didn't do anything. And so by the time I got to, I think it was sophomore year, I got kicked out of regular school, went to what's called continuation school. That's like a half day. And it's the easiest thing ever. You go self-paced and you just get credits and you graduate. Well, I didn't even do that. I couldn't even make it a half a day. They called me Runaway Erway. My teacher called me Runaway Erway because I'd sneak out, and once or twice I jumped out the window and just left. I just hated school. So I'm actually a high school dropout. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story is, if you are a high school dropout or you're not super intelligent, you can still do this. So that's the good
Nice.
news.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it was for me. And when I dropped out, I was 17 years old, and I decided, you know what? I want to be a business owner. I want to be an entrepreneur. So I was introduced to network marketing. I was in fast food at the time. And my first stint in network marketing was when I was 17 years old. And actually, I had to get my mom's permission to sign the distributor application and become an Amway rep. So
Nice.
that happened at 17 years old. And the reason I did this was because I hated authority. As soon as they said, be your own boss, I was like, that I'm all in. So that was my first stint. I was a fast food manager at 18, trying to build a network marketing business, failing epically. And that's where my life was going at the time. And so I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit, hanging around with, people that probably weren't the best people to hang out with, was still stuck in habits. And even though I was had a good influence with the network marketing group I was with, life was still not really going anywhere. So that's when, as JT mentioned, he joined the Navy. I went in the Coast Guard, and I really didn't see any other way out of my life, out of the rut I was in, out to escape the influence of the people that I was surrounded with. So I joined. I got my GED. I got a waiver to join the Coast Guard. It was the only one that said I needed a waiver that I checked into, or they said I couldn't join because I didn't have a diploma. And so when they said no, what's human nature, right? When someone takes something away from you, you want it. So I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to write like this essay, submit this essay, and apply for this waiver to even go to basic. And so, yeah, I did all that. Went to Cape May, New Jersey, got eaten up by mosquitoes, which they're big enough to pick you up and fly away with you at times, it seems. And it was in the summer. There was a hurricane that went through. So I got my first hurricane coming from the West Coast. I was in California as a kid, grew up in California. And so after that, went to my first unit. It was the Coast Guard Cutter Durable. It's decommissioned now. I'm aging myself, but this was many years ago.
Mhm.
Jumped right in. The first day I got there, we flew to Gitmo. For those that don't know, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So flew in on like a prop plane to Cuba to meet the boat, and we call them boats. You'll hear JT
Yeah.
refer to them as ships.
Actually, we
They're
call them
boats.
boats too.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
100%.
got it.
Yep.
Yeah, so met up with the boat, got on, and like 2 days later, we had a boat fire. People were smuggling hash, and they set their boat on fire to destroy evidence, and we rescued them. And I was running around with it's called AFFF firefighting foam, and then I took a nozzle and I was actually fighting the fire. I didn't know what I was doing. I was tripping over myself. It was in the middle of the night, and so I just remember that was like my first, like, well, you're in the military and you're doing real cool shit now. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. But I knew it wasn't for me. Fast forward, became a firefighter, medic, was a volunteer. I went from underachiever. If you can't tell, I had something to prove. I had a chip on my shoulder. And I went from total underachiever to basically wanting to fight the narrative that I'm not enough. I don't know if you can relate to that, but you're not enough. You're going to be fail in life. Like all the stuff that I believed internally and that other people had reinforced, and due to my habits and due to the things that I was doing. So I was fighting that brute force to try to like do everything. So it sounds like pretty impressive, but at the time I still felt like a failure, even though I was a firefighter, a medic. I got a temporary job at the city fire department in Kodiak, Alaska, which was awesome. Could have stayed and gotten a permanent gig, but decided, no, I'm going to go to the entrepreneurship route. So I did. I went again, tried network marketing in the military. I forgot to mention, was sponsored by a guy named Kevin Trudeau. Might have heard of him. He's done infomercials and stuff like that. So joined a company with him. I tried Amway again. It was Quick Start at the time, I think it was called. And yeah, I did like three. I failed several times. Actually, JT, uh, not one, not even two, but three companies I joined were shut down by the FTC.
Love it.
I can pick them, brother. I could pick the winners.
Yeah, man. I think if a lot of times people get like heartbroken over that when their company shuts down or the FTC comes in or some three-letter agency wants to throw their thumb down. I almost feel like you have like it's a rite of passage. Not that you have to go through that, but if you do, you should be pretty proud of it. You know what I mean? Anyway, you got the t-shirt at least. That's what's important.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's crazy about that time? Like having that experience actually was sort of the impetus of creating this whole internet marketing thing because when I lost I didn't have a huge team for either, any of those companies, but I did have a team, especially in the last one, and it was gone. And I was starting over basically, and I didn't have contacts, and I didn't have, I didn't have a big Rolodex, and I didn't build relationships really deep with the people that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I essentially was starting from scratch. And it sucked because it was a grind, man. And look, I'm introverted. I know it doesn't seem like it probably when you and I are talking and just shooting the shit. But dude, I am introverted. I do not like being in groups of people. To even pick up the phone and call somebody's like, ugh. And I get anxiety in social situations. So building a team, even a small team, was I expended so much energy to do that. And when it was gone, it was like I never want to have this happen to me again. And so that's when I kind of set off to learn internet marketing. And I wanted to build skills that no one could take from me that would allow me to build an asset of my own. Nobody was teaching this at the time. I did run into a very progressive team in a network marketing company that built an online system. And I was like, this is so cool because you're building your own list. Basically, you get a list of people. Now you have to export and put them into an autoresponder to email them. But nonetheless, there's still, you have a Rolodex. And it was a pretty cool thing because you could promote one link, put a bunch of people into this system, and the system would basically use scarcity and urgency to close people. So if anyone upgraded, imagine everyone's placed below you in this hypothetical downline that's not even real. It's just a list of names. But
Yeah.
when one person upgrades, everyone's notified, hey, so and so's upgraded. If you want to upgrade, you'll keep your space and they'll be in your team. And I was like, this is genius, man.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I could combine internet marketing with this. And so basically, JT, what I did is I learned how one of the things I learned was search engine optimization. That was working okay. So this was the Wild West. This was going back to like 2002. It was really easy
Oh
to
yeah.
game Google, and then learning Google AdWords, like that's paid ads. I started doing some of that. And then I was like, man, I could grow it even faster. I actually learned from somebody else in my team that was blowing it up, man. He was like sponsoring dozens, hundreds of people a day sometimes. I was like, how are you doing this, man? I left him like 3 messages, finally got through to him. And I was needy and kind of like, I probably was the annoying, like, you got to tell me what you're doing, man. But I learned what he was doing. And basically at the time, what he was doing was legally spamming people. So you buy what's called a CPM drop, like it's just you're paying for 1 million emails to go out, or 2 million, or 3 million, or whatever, and you send them all to this link, and boom, you're growing an instant downline. It was crazy because one person will upgrade, and all of a sudden, like a chain reaction, a bunch of people upgraded. So I was fascinated by that concept. Did well in that company. But I just wasn't happy there for whatever reason. I don't remember the specifics. But yeah, jump ship, went to another company, kind of built my own thing on that one, and just did some network marketing and affiliate marketing, and did that for a little while. And I had some success. Over 1,300 people. Don't remember the exact amount, but in 1 month, I brought in over 1,300
Damn.
people into a different system that I personally sponsored. Now that sounds impressive. Actually
Yeah,
broke
it
some
does sound
records.
impressive.
Thank you for that. But I also broke the record for the fastest disappearing downline
Oh
in the company's history. So you can't be that impressed with that.
yeah.
And the reason is because I thought mistakenly that I could grow this thing in a totally automated way And that's not network marketing. Network marketing is a relationship business, and you can't take that out. You have to, if you want to use high tech, which you should, you still have to combine that with high touch. You still have to combine
Yeah.
that with the glue that holds the team together. You agree with that, JT?
Oh, 100%, man. I wish more. I'm grateful that you said that because there's too much, I think, emphasis on the automation piece, which is great. Like you said, like you want that. But if you don't first have those first, like those human skills, I was just talking to one of our clients about this the other day. They were kind of saying, "Hey, do really well with the belly to belly, but for some reason, when I'm like shifting to the online, it's a learning curve." And I'm like, "Dude, that is perfect if you've got skills with the person to person in, where you can actually, like you said, that high touch and talk to a person like they're a human being and actually show genuine care and concern. If you can learn to transition that, which we teach you guys to do, you're going to be a machine, man. And you're just going to have the leverage and all that. So I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of times you see people with a high level of success. They're like, listen, man, make your list, just find two who find two. You start hearing all that old crap. And I know you probably lived through that, and that was frustrating as shit too. But anyway, yeah, I
Yeah, man.
100% support that, man. Not
Yeah,
not
for
the
sure.
find 2 to find 2. I'm saying like the, finding, the kind of leverage through technology, whatever that might be. And I know we're gonna dive into that a little bit because I want to ask you,
Yeah.
you've got probably, I would say, one of the keenest eyes and the finger on the pulse for AI. So the whole thing that's been going on with AI, how to not just use it effectively, but also really how to see where this thing's going to go. And I want to kind of tap into that in a little bit. Out of curiosity for you, was there something early in your career? You and I are both the kind of, dare I say, rebels, right? Just authority, have an issue with authority. I think that's a real value set. I think that's a valuable kind of like skill set to have. Most people, like when they come in, they're like, just tell me what to do. The ones that
Exactly.
tend to
Yeah.
grow fast, and I'm not talking about speed of like you make money tomorrow. I don't want to be hypey like that, but the ones that make quick progress are the ones that are like, I'll break this fucking thing and find it out myself. What for you was kind of like some of the things you noticed that were like, this is not working for me. I've got to figure this out on my own.
Yeah, good question. So I'll preface the answer with this. The great thing about network marketing is there is a low barrier to enter. And so anyone can do this. The terrible thing about network marketing is there is a low barrier to enter and anyone can do this, right?
Yeah.
So there's this belief in network marketing that all I have to do is just follow the plan. And I get it. Like there's a plan and in theory it seems like it works. And you know what? You can even look to examples of other people in every company that have quote unquote followed the plan and gotten results. But here's what you're not told. What you're not told, or what most people aren't told, and they have to find out the hard way, is that you actually have to have skills to succeed in network marketing because it's marketed and sold typically as hey, this is simple, but it's not easy. But you just talk to enough people, anyone with a pulse, 3 foot rule. If they can fog a mirror, right, you approach them and it's just a numbers game. And that's what we're told. The problem with that for some people, and some people, they have the skills to do that. They're extroverts, they love doing that.
Yeah.
For them, it works really well. But for people like you and I, JT, where we have to like really muster up a lot of energy to even connect with a human being and have a conversation with them and then try to hide the agenda and it just feels weird and awkward. And so what I learned really fast for me is that yes, I could muscle through it. I can muscle through the find and approach people. And first, you got to pick up the phone. That phone weighs 537 pounds when you're trying to call people that you haven't talked to in years. And clearly, your intention is to try to recruit them, and that's awful. So going through that process of warm list and talking to everyone that you've haven't talked to since high school and just having the awkward conversations and you kind of muscle through that and it's fine. You get through it and you're like, okay, I'm still alive. But then you got to go into the cold market. And what does that look like offline? It looks like anyone you come into contact with. I remember, and JT, you probably did this too, but I remember going prospecting, like actually leaving the house to go talk to people at a mall or at a coffee shop and just approaching strangers, striking up a conversation that was clearly not genuine and inauthentic, because it's like, you start with the compliment, hey, I like your shoes or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you're like, hey man, so what is it you do, and then, hey, do you keep your options open, and then you just have these weird conversations with people. And you know what, sometimes it works, sometimes they say yes, I'm interested. But once you get past that hurdle of getting the first yes, what do you have to do then? Well, you have to get them to a meeting, right? So then you're inviting them to a meeting, and half the time, more than half the time, they don't even show, right? You got to follow up with them, make sure they're going to show up. And so if you do finally get someone to a meeting, and when I was really working this hard, we actually had an office that was one of the FTC companies that got shut down. But we had this office. So our strategy was we'd get people to an opportunity meeting at an office. So it seemed legitimate, right? It was like, it's a job interview. It's a sales job.
Oh
So
gosh.
these unwitting people, we'd put ads in the paper. All these people were responding to these sales job ads. We get them to this thing. And then we start talking about the products and the opportunity. And there's like all these people looking at each other like, dude, this is network marketing. Why is he doing circles?
Why are
It
you
was the
drawing
most
circles?
awkward thing.
Yeah.
So you get the person there, then you have to like present the plan. And I was awful, man. When it was my turn to present the plan, it was like I was shaking. My mouth was like dry. I had a lump in my throat. I was just talking. It was so bad. I was stuttering. I was stumbling, fumbling. It was just awful. And so, trying to get people past that hurdle. And then if they stuck around and they weren't like, who are these clowns wearing suits that can't even fumble through a presentation? Then you got to basically overcome any sales objections. So for the people that are still standing, you got to overcome their objections. I got to talk to the wife. Is this a pyramid scheme? Is this blah, blah, blah? So it's so many obstacles. And does everyone join that, even if they say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea? No, you got to follow up. So then you got to follow up with those people. And so you're hitting the phones, following up. And so it's a grind for people like you and I, right?
Yeah.
So doing that, yes. Does the plan work? Sure, it does. But what's the cost of that? Like, I don't know about you and all of you watching this, but I didn't get into this business to be held hostage to a company and have my time freedom completely overwhelmed and taken over by building this dream, grinding away every hour of the day that I wasn't working at my job to try and actually win and have success with this business. That's not what I signed up for. And that whole idea of, leverage, using leverage is awesome. I love leverage, but this is the most unleveraged process in the beginning, one-on-one, anyone and everyone with the pulse, talking to them and approaching them. And it's a numbers game. That's the most unleveraged thing I can even imagine doing. So for those that are like me, that are not salespeople, that don't love, connecting with people and don't have the gift of gab, and it sounds like I might doing this interview, but man, get me one-on-one. And when I'm not talking to my brother from another mother, it's a totally different story. I'm just like clammy. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I feel judged. I feel weird. I'm like, I just want to get out of the situation. It's bad, y'all. So for me to be able to do that just wasn't reasonable. And especially if it's like 3 to 5 years of that. So that's when I had this realization. I was like, man, if I am going to do this, there has to be a better way to do it. And so that's when I kind of jumped into the whole world of online marketing and learning skills. And so the biggest lie, I think, probably in this industry is that anyone can do this. And that's not true. Anyone can join, anyone can sign a distributor application, anyone can make a warm list, but you have to have skills to succeed. And you have two choices. Skill set number one is learning to sell. Because look, it's one-on-one is sales. I don't care how they it's not just give them samples, and it's sales. Just say it's sales.
What
Like
is
if
the
you're just
problem with
honest
that?
about
Yeah.
it, it's freaking sales, y'all. So learn sales, or if you hate sales, you don't like approaching people, talking to people one-on-one, learn the skills of marketing. And
Amen.
that's what attraction marketing is.
I love your quote. You've said it before, and I don't remember who to attest it to. You probably do, but it's the marketing is done right, then sales are superfluous.
That was a
And
Peter Drucker quote.
yeah, Peter
That's
Drucker,
exactly
and
right.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful, man, because it's if you really think about it, most of the time, if you've done a good job of having that what is marketing? It's just a warm up. It's just that person becoming aware of the fact that A, they have a problem. Maybe they're just kind of walking around fat, dumb, and happy, right? Literally. And then all of a sudden you give them kind of an awareness that, hey, were you aware of that? Or I used to have this problem. And they're like, you know what? Come to think of it, now they have an awareness, and then you start to kind of pave the way, shine the flashlight, if you will, down the dark forest path, and they start to have a sense of there is an end to this, there's a an outcome to this. You do that, then all of a sudden when it's time, sometimes they're throwing credit cards at you if you've done it right,
Mhm.
and I think that's important. Oh, man, you're telling that story about like having the meeting. My heart literally, I remember those days. I literally, dude, true story. My dad was well, he's retired now, but he was at the time he was a real estate broker, and he was very connected in town, knew lots of people. And he had this guy, this friend of his. I was struggling so hard. I got out of the military. We were flat broke. My wife and I didn't have a freaking dime to our name. And I was trying to build this freaking network marketing business the old way, like you were describing. And he goes, well, I know a guy. He's very successful. Think of this dude. I won't say the name of the company, but he owned an insurance company under one of the big national brands. Very successful, this guy. Basically like Warren Buffett of Boise, Idaho. This is where we lived at the time. And my dad got me a meeting with him. I even telling the story makes me like just so like embarrassed for myself, because my dad went out on the line, connected me with this guy, and he was the most gracious, kind man. He just sat there patiently listening to my whole, just like super awkward sales pitch, and then very, graciously, basically said no. But I just remember those days, because I'm like, nowadays, like if you tried doing that, most people wouldn't even give you the time of day. And quite frankly, guys like you and me would be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And just think of how many potential rock stars there are. Like
Mhm.
entrepreneurs in the, sort of still in the seed. The seed hasn't blossomed yet, that are just waiting to get their start, but they're thinking, I got to go do that. And the answer is no, you don't. Back then you did, right? Back then it was like, hey, anybody can do this. And you're like, but not me. Secretly, you're thinking, there's no way I want to do this. The good news is that, to your point, not everybody can do this, but there's a different way that does pave the way. And this is where I get super excited, because not only did you find that, I think a lot of ways you sort of blazed the trail for this. And you're a humble guy, so I appreciate that. But like, let's breach that a little bit. I want to kind of kick the door in on this one. Hey, my friends, hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick minute and invite you to something very cool. If you are tired of following up with dead leads, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations online, if you're tired of chasing down friends, family, and people you work with just to get somebody interested in your business, and you would actually like to talk to highly qualified people who have a genuine interest in doing business with you, then we have our all digital 5-day boot camp that teaches you all the things that we do, and it will help you get 3 to 7 new customers each and every single week. That's our personal guarantee to you. If you want to take advantage of that, click the link directly below this, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. Now, let's get you back to the show. What shifted for you where you're like, screw this, man? Were there online tools that you knew of, or were you kind of like flying by the seat of your pants, building the airplane at 30,000 feet? How did that play out for you?
Yeah, good question. So I remember, oh man, I wish I could remember that course it was. So I was really fascinated at the time with internet marketing, and there wasn't a lot of stuff out there with regards to courses or anything that you could buy. But one I stumbled on, I know what it's called. It's called Mining Gold on the Internet, and it was by a guy named Sean Casey.
Oh,
And
nice.
I think this was like 2001, 2002. I don't remember the year, but I got this thing. I printed it out. I remember going grocery shopping with my wife at the time, and it had the freaking thing, and I was reading it while we were shopping. I was so bored with shopping. My life was absorbed with like cracking the code for this thing. That's how like into this I was. So we're grocery shopping. I'm literally flipping through this folder and reading on paper this mining gold on the internet. And that's just one example. Like I was so committed to learning skills that could teach me something. And this is a paradigm shift that I had. So here it is, guys. This is it in a nutshell. Sales is 1-to-1. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it. The beauty of marketing and what makes it so incredibly powerful is that it's 1-to-many. Now, when we circle back and we go to the promise of network marketing, of applying leverage, it just makes sense that if you learn this skill of marketing, it's even in the name, that I can learn how, instead of believing and treating everyone like a prospect, I can bring prospects, people that are already interested, to me. And so that concept was what set me on this journey. And I knew it was working for other people in other industries. And so I said, you know what? It's a principle. Let's test the universality of that principle and let's try it. And so I did. I tried some stuff, and not all of it worked. A lot of it really didn't work. I wasted money. I got into debt. But I tried a bunch of stuff. I was just driven to figure the thing out, crack the code. And so that was my journey, man. It was a discovery process. I'd learn something new. I'd stumble around a little bit, fall down, scrape my knees, get back up, try again. And if it seemed like I did everything, y'all. So you could buy clicks at the time. It was the stupidest thing. Like JT talked earlier about people want to automate stuff. I call that the boondoggle zone. I have this, it's called the yield leverage quadrant. I have a picture of it, but I'm not going to share my screen and deal with all that. But if you could just imagine a matrix, with four squares. Bottom left is the startup zone. Most network marketers never leave the startup zone. You got to figure out how to find your perfect prospects, how to attract them, how to, like you either have to do that manually one-on-one through sales, or you have to do that through marketing. And then you get critical mass and you start to get yield. So you're still on the left-hand quadrant, but you're going up and you're starting to get some money coming in. Well, a lot of leaders that you see on Instagram these days, that you see on TikTok or on the socials, flaunting that, they're the top producers, secretly, they are in quadrant number 2. They're in the burnout zone. So instead of having these teams that are self-sufficient, they become customer support reps for their entire teams, because everyone's like, I want to do what you're doing. And so they're answering their phones at all hours. They're, jumping on Zoom calls. They're constantly on email, and they're just trying to get people to duplicate what they're doing. Here's the thing, is they figured out how to get results 1-to-many, but they didn't figure out how to teach that to their team and create true leverage where you can move up and to the right into the high yield, high leverage quadrant. I call that the freedom zone. And very few people actually get there. And what most startup entrepreneurs think, JT, you know this, in the startup phase, they want the easy button. They want to figure out, how can I just make this easier? I did that too, by the way. I did all the stupid stuff. I bought clicks. I just threw money at ads. I didn't know what I was doing. But they want to go to high leverage before they have any yield whatsoever, any results whatsoever. So instead of moving up to the burnout zone, where you have to go, like the path to success, if you imagine that quadrant, and I know everything's backwards because we're on video, but on the left-hand side, you're starting out in the bottom left and you're moving up to the yield, and then you need to backfill functions. You need to create leverage, getting your team members to duplicate you. That's how you move over to the freedom zone. But what most people do in the startup zone is they go, you know what? I want to skip all that and jump right over to the leverage zone. So they go to the right. They're like, man, I need AI. I need automation systems. I need all this. I need funnels. I need all this stuff. And they go to the boondoggle zone. And that's high leverage, no yield whatsoever. And they get stuck there. And when it doesn't work, they go to the next system, or they go to the next opportunity. They join, they try again. And then they're like, man, this is too hard. I'm going to do it my own way. And so it's just this repetitive thing where it's startup zone, boondoggle zone, or startup zone, worse yet, to burnout zone, and then crash and burn, where they're just like, no, I can't do this anymore. And so they jump ship to another opportunity, have to start over, and they realize, oh my gosh, it's the same thing. I have to go through the grind, because they never learn how to move incrementally and subsequently through these zones. And that's what attraction marketing teaches. The entire strategy of attraction marketing is literally learn marketing, learn direct response marketing, which we teach, learn the strategy of preeminence as taught by Jay Abraham, and learn simple principles and how to apply them. And you're going to quickly move up from the startup to the burnout and then skip over to the right because you're going to train your teams to do the same. And that's the strategy. That's the ticket. That's the blueprint for getting the results that you want. Now,
There it
just
is.
like anything else, it's tough. You got to learn skills, like real
Yeah.
skills. But man, for people like me, for people like JT, is it worth it? Hell yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's literally you can write your own ticket. And I'm not in network marketing. I haven't been in network marketing in 2 decades. But I leverage the same skills that I learned while building my network marketing business to build multiple companies up to 7 figures and even 8 figures doing this process. And it's the same principles. So we teach that exact same plan to our students. Yes, the flavor is a little bit different. Yes, the content's different, but the context and the process and the principles, universally applicable.
I love that. One thing that comes to mind too, as you were talking about that, is it is a journey. And I think a lot of times people misunderstand that. They think, to your point, you illustrated it beautifully. It's like, hey, you go from the startup phase, you want to jump straight into leverage. Well, you still there's dominoes that need to be kind of teed up so that the when one falls, it knocks the next one over. If you don't have them set up correctly or they're too spaced apart, then the domino falls and nothing continues after that. That momentum, that energy doesn't transfer. And so often, I think we see that with newer entrepreneurs. No problem with having the desire, no problem with having the vision. Like they have those in spades, but it's the understanding. Like, hey, dude, it's going to take a minute and a half before you learn those things. Probably the single best investment in my life, not just the financial side of it, because there was obviously that, but it was the time and the patience to be able to stick with that and learn that stuff. You'd mentioned this, and I think it's so funny because I was talking to Matt Crystal, one of the founders here at Attraction Marketing, one of our mutual dear friends, and he tells a really cool story about the time he first met you. You were running an ad. He basically found the ad. Was that digital or was that a print ad? It feels like it was a like
So
he
it
read.
was actually a magazine.
Yeah,
So it
that's
was
what I
called
thought.
Six Figure Income Magazine. And so a couple friends of mine that were network marketers, they actually learned a ton from these two guys, Chris and Charles Fuchs. Shout out to those guys. They're still around. I haven't talked to them in years, but learned from them. And they introduced me to the editor, publisher, whatever of this magazine. They're like, "Hey, man, you should tell your story to these guys. It's pretty cool." And so I did. I shared my story with them and got featured in this magazine that was going out to a bunch of network marketers. Don't remember how many, but the circulation was pretty big. It was one of the first publications that was circulated to the network marketing industry. And so, yeah, Matt found me there. Mike Dillard found me there, and several other people. I put like quite a few people into my team at that point, and then otherwise partner with them for in different ventures. So just a ton that opened a ton of doors for me. That and that actually came from going to an event because that's how I met the Fuchs brothers. Is I went to this event in San Diego for a company event, and that swung open so many doors. Man, I met so many people, and Todd Falcone I met at that event. And so, like, if I could say that the one thing I'd say that would move the needle for you is whether it's a virtual event, great. Better yet, in person event, get there. Like it's magic. Like there's talk about small hinges that swing open big doors. Like that's the secret right there is grow your network, but do it in a cool way, not a desperate way. And what's the fastest way to do that? Shoot, go to events. Like our events are great. You can meet some awesome people there and just connect with them. And you realize, holy crap, they're human just like me. It doesn't matter how successful you are. Everyone's still human. Everyone's been through it. So they get where you're at. And many of them not long ago. So it's just really kind of refreshing and reassuring to meet people all at all phases of the journey. The belief level just goes up and you're like, damn, I can actually do this. So events were just amazing. Dude, I forgot the question. So
Well,
you're gonna
I
have to
just
remind me. I don't know if I answered it.
You did. It was more of just kind of anecdotal thing because Matt was telling the story one time at one of our workshops that we train on that we put on here. And he was talking about how when he was new, he didn't know Jack. And he found this ad, responded to it, and asked, he's like, "Hey man, can I buy you lunch?" Referring to you. And you're like, "Yeah, sure." So you guys met, and it was like a 2 hour drive. It wasn't like around the corner for him. He met with you and then figured out, okay, TJ's a real guy and seems like a kind of person I'd want to do business with. Next thing is he goes to an event that you were holding. This was the thing for me, man. I'll be completely honest. I was getting goosebumps listening to it because I was like, my journey through this was very similar. You know, it's just that it's like a leap of faith. He calls you, you pick up the phone. What's up with that? Now, that can be done differently now because we've got Zoom, we've got Messenger, we've got
Mhm.
all these different ways, which are way more leveraged and quite frankly, a lot more efficient. He drives to see you. You guys have lunch and then start that kind of journey together. Then it sounds like you're putting on an event, and he tells the story. He famously borrowed money from his girlfriend to get to the event. She believed in him and also believed in the vision, and that's when he met you and Mike Dillard. Now, that's if I got the story right. Is that I
I
get that
don't
fairly
rec
accurate?
honestly, he tells the story, and I don't recall those details.
Oh
I
wow,
believe it, and I know exactly what he's talking about. I love it's his ex-girlfriend now, but we're
yeah,
still everyone's great friends, Bev. She's
she's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah. So,
B
so that was
yeah.
that like the would that have been magnetic sponsoring or was that before?
Yeah, that was before magnetic sponsoring because I
Wow.
hadn't partnered with Mike. I was mentoring Mike at that time. So Mike sent me this. So real quick, I'll give the backstory on that. So this dude, same ad or not ad, it's a magazine. So same dude, same magazine. This dude calls me. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was crazy. I put my number there, and I actually answered the phone, and I talked to some interesting cats, man. But yeah, picked up the phone. I don't remember how if I picked up the phone or I called him back or whatever. But we got in a conversation. He's like, "Yeah, man, just really saw your interview. Thought it was really cool. Is it okay if I send you something I'm working on? I'd love your advice and input." So I get this like package in the mail a while later, and it's like brown package like standard mail. I unwrap it. It's a spiral bound, cheesy looking kind of like he printed it up at Kinko's. You guys remember Kinko's? Like he actually did. He printed it at
Oh,
Kinko's. And
100%.
I looked at it. I'm like, what's this thing? And I threw it on the shelf. And I said, I had every intention of getting back to it later, but I didn't for a long time. And then Mike, I think about a month later, calls me up. He's like, "Hey, did you get a chance to read the book?" And I'm like, no." He's like, "Oh, that's cool, man. Hey, so I have a problem. I'm selling about 25, 30 of these a day, and so, like, what do how do I like? I'm going to the Kinkos and I'm printing these things up, and I'm like, "You're doing what?" He's like, "Yeah, man," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to Kinkos. I got this big box I bring in, with me, and then I put all the folders that I print up and I bring them and I go to the mail center and I start shipping them out." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You don't have a fulfillment center doing that?" So anyway, I hooked him up with fulfillment. There was a connection I had for fulfillment. I was selling courses and stuff like that already, and so got him hooked up with that. And then we just became friends. Like you and I, JT, how we just kind of connected
Mhm.
and became fast friends. Same thing with Mike. We just connected. We talked a lot. We planned. I gave him advice. He was learning. The cool thing about Mike, forever. And if you guys don't know Mike, he's the actual creator of attraction marketing, and he studied the same stuff I did. And that's the reason he was drawn to what I was sharing, is because I was sharing how I was into direct response marketing. I studied all the direct response marketing greats, copywriters, that sort of thing. And so we'd nerd out together. And what was cool about Mike is he was the type of person that if you gave him advice, he didn't think about it, he didn't ponder it, he didn't second guess it. He went and executed, man, like
Nice.
instantly executed. And so we'd have these conversations. I'd say, "Hey, have you considered trying this?" He'd go like a day later, he'd be doing it. I'm like, "Whoa, man, you executed on that. That's awesome." And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But man, that guy could execute like crazy. And if you just get out of like learning from Mike, I learned tons from working with Mike. But if you get out of your own way, get out of your head and just think, "Hey, what's the fastest way I can execute? I can test this thing." so what if I fail? So what if I look foolish? So what if people judge me? But if I can move quickly and break things, and as JT likes to say, scratch the paint, ding the sheet metal, then I'm going to get a lot more done than anyone else. Not only get more done, but I'm going to learn faster and I'm going to get a lot quicker results. And that's what Mike had in spades is he had the ability to just execute. And so he did, and we collaborated. And one of the conversations we had was we talked about, hey, let's do a launch of, let's teach what you guys know. So I had another guy I was working with. I built software based on his business, and I was selling this software. It was awesome. It was called Gateway Magic.
Mhm.
His name was Tom Bell. And Tom Bell was selling a grant guide of all things, like how to get government grants. And he had this most ingenious marketing machine. So people would go to his capture page. You just imagine this. A capture page is where you enter your name, email, and then you see an offer. You see a sales letter. And people would put their name, email, and they'd choose what they wanted their grant for on the page. So there's these radio buttons, and I'd buy a new car, I'd get a house, and you go to the next page and there's a check with your name on it, personalized, and it says, here's your check to buy your new house or get your new car.
Whoa,
It was brilliant.
that's amazing.
So long story endless, I ripped him off, asked him if I could, and he said yes, and launched something called Gateway Magic, and was offering that. Had some big internet marketers doing it at that time. This was like 2004, I think that we did that. 2005, and yeah, Mike was all about it, and we actually used that to launch something called Traffic Formula, MLM Traffic Formula. And so I think we used it for a little while, and then we just decided, yeah, we'll just make it easy, and we did a static offer, but it still freaking worked. We did. I don't remember how long it took us, but we launched to his list. And this is when I was like, holy crap, the power of an email list. Okay, everybody, listen, here's a lesson for you. Social media is awesome. Be on social media. Pick a platform, one platform, go deep, learn it, test it, figure out what works, and just go deep on that one platform. But here's what the ultimate goal is: go from rented to owned. Build an email list. That's the next goal
Hell yeah.
after you start learning social media. And that's what Mike did. And he had this list, and he sent an email, and then thousands and tens of thousands of dollars a day in sales instantly with a click of a button. I had never seen anything like that fast before. I was running ads and getting sales, but man, having an email list and and like, if you get your network marketing company shut down, who cares if it goes out of business? Like, you've got an email list. You've got the most valuable asset you can. You own that. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, to win in network marketing in today's world, you have to go from rented or borrowed to owned. And you have to build assets, because I'm going to just tell it to you straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Network marketing is not your own business. You are a distributor. You are a representative. You are bound by all of their constraints, all of their, like, and that's okay. They need to have those. But you are a sales rep for that company. It is not yours. They could change their compensation plan. They could put in new policies that make what you're doing against their terms of service. They could, your team member can leave, take your downline with you. It is not your business. Okay. I don't care what anyone says. You're a sales rep. You're a 1099 sales rep for another company. That is self employed. You're not a business owner. So anyone that says you're a business owner is lying, or they're uneducated and uninformed. You are a sales rep. You are a 1099 sales rep. How do you go from borrowed and rented to owned? Build yourself. And by the way, build your social media, but build your email list and your phone number list and whatever. That's how you go that's how you build a business. And that's what Mike did. And when I was like, okay, now I get it. And I knew it before, but I didn't understand how to leverage it the way that Mike did. And so, long story endless, launched that product, did $1 million in, I don't remember how long, but it was a short time. And Mike kept sending me checks like for a year. And I think it was 2007 when he's like, hey, man, so I need help growing. We're over $1 million a year. And he's like, dude, can you come help me grow this thing? And I'm like, I'm looking at what I'm doing, and I was kind of in the grind stage. I was making money, things were working, but there was a lot of things that weren't. And frankly, I wasn't having fun. I built a business that I was a slave to, and that's a topic we'll get into later. But I was like, but Mike's got a really great opportunity. I'm passionate about the business. I'm passionate about helping network marketers. I love educating people. Not only that, but I love working with Mike. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sunset the entire thing that I'm doing. I sold Gateway Magic to a friend of mine. I kind of wound down a lot of the other stuff that I was doing. I had a business in the debt business. I actually sold that to somebody for like cheap pennies.
Mhm.
That was a 7-figure company, but I sold it for so little it's laughable, for reasons I won't get into here. I just wanted to like move quickly,
Mhm.
and so I started working with Mike, and we grew his company from 1 million to over 4 million that following year.
Jeez.
How? Putting systems in place, building a team, putting processes in place, and it worked, right? So that's the genesis of magnetic sponsoring. Mike started it. Together, we grew it with another partner named Justin Christensen. He became a partner at the same time I did. And then when Mike decided to exit in 2010, I took over, and it was magnetic sponsoring. We rebranded to Elite Marketing Pro. And then from there, we went to attraction marketing in, I think it was 2019 or something like that. So that brings us up to the current moment. I know I've been talking a lot, so I apologize,
I
JT.
love the storyline, man, because I think a lot of people don't understand just how foundational that what you just shared is to where the industry is now, especially for those that are doing it digitally, that are building online,
Mhm.
and to where like how that's actually developing the trajectory. It's so cool for me because when I first met you guys, the company was actually called something different. It had a different name, this company, and now it's become known as Attraction Marketing, attractionmarketing.com. What's awesome to me, and I had to pull this up, I had it before, I didn't even think about it, was I remember having an original copy. Man, I can't even remember where we grabbed it or when we grabbed it, but I had an original copy of Magnetic Sponsoring. I still have it somewhere in this house. We keep all that stuff. But what's crazy to me is the company logo for Attraction Marketing actually, I don't know if it's a tip of the hat or just a happy coincidence, but that magnet with the charged end on it is just very iconic at this point, and
Mhm.
frankly, very symbolic. And there's a deep, almost at the soul level kind of meaning to that. And that's a very, very cool thing, man. So I'm glad you brought that story up because the next part of that story, though, the chapter of that is how was the kind of magnetic sponsoring formula or the magnetic sponsoring philosophy received by the industry? Were they like, oh my gosh, thank you, something new? Or was it something, how was it received when it first came out? You guys started sharing the word.
So Mike was way ahead of his time. Because look, this is a business of duplication. And so there's this belief system in deeply ingrained in every network marketer that everything I do has to be duplicatable. And it's true, it does. Um, but everyone's built differently. Not every, we talked about that in already. Like I don't need to continue to kick, beat a dead horse. You guys get that. Everyone's built differently. But this whole idea of um, you know, like, dude, I totally lost my train of thought. What was the question again? Shit.
It was
I
more or
know, I
less
know.
like, how was it received? Meaning
Oh,
magnetic
right. Yes,
sponsoring.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mike was way ahead of his time, and this whole idea of, attraction marketing or magnetic sponsoring philosophy was not well received at all. In fact, there were many people who just came out publicly and just Mike had to deal with so much. He was front facing at that point. And so he was like he didn't care because he had such conviction and belief. And that conviction and belief won people over. And not only did it win people over, but the results spoke for themselves that they got. But the ironic thing is for the ones that spoke out the loudest against it, what were they doing? They created their own education processes and systems. They
Mhm.
had their own recruiting process. They had their own onboarding process. What were they doing? They were doing attraction marketing. They just didn't realize it, and they were doing different. They were building differently than their team was building, way differently, right? So they were going after bigger leaders, right? They were doing marketing. A lot of them were doing actual marketing. They were learning skills marketing, but they didn't. They hid it from their downline because they didn't. What they wanted to be duplicatable. And so our philosophy at Attraction Marketing is very simple. We teach you skills, and one of the skills is leadership. And you'll hear Mike every time he would do his sign off. It was thank you for your leadership, and I've adopted that as well. And that's like I love that because
Yeah.
what everyone wants to be is everyone wants to be a leader. And I believe that if we talk to that aspirational part of every person that is in the future at some point for most people, their goal, their aspiration is to be a leader. And so if I just have that expectation that I'm speaking to a current or future leader, what does that do for how we can stand out in a marketplace and really double down on, hey, what do we do? We find and develop leaders. What's your role, JT, with the company?
Traction marketing. I am the leadership development and director of leadership development.
The most important role in the company. And one of our core values is developing tomorrow's leaders. And so that's what we do. So we treat people like adults. Now, does everyone necessarily act like adults immediately? No, I didn't. When I got into this, I wasn't immediately a leader. But if you're held to the standard of, hey, I expect you to rise up and become a leader and learn skills, and we're very upfront with what it's going to take to succeed, there are a lot of people who are going to say, okay, I will rise up because they want it. And they have that dream and that conviction that drives them, that inspires them, that pulls them towards where they want to be. And so that's what makes us different and attraction marketing different. Even when everyone else, the naysayers, the leaders hated us, were saying it's a scam, it doesn't work, it's not duplicatable. Okay. We quietly brought other leaders up, taught them the strategies, they duplicated, then they had their people. In fact, there's so many people teaching attraction marketing right now that are multiple generations of, I guess you'd call them children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. I don't know. They've learned from us that we
Yeah.
started it, right? And they learned, and a lot of it's watered down, and it's not actually attraction marketing. And then there's a lot of people teaching attraction marketing like the law of attraction. It's like, where did we turn into the law of that? Was not in our philosophy. It's just ridiculous what the like attraction marketing today is this big, it's like this, it's looked at as this like big thing that is anything that's, quote unquote marketing. And it's not. Attraction marketing is a simple philosophy, but also it's backed by universal principles, and they've remained consistent throughout like technology changes, tactics change, but the principles and skills that you learn are evergreen. And that's what we really focus on with what we teach. And now you can't deny attraction marketing because guess what? Every leader in every company that's successful is doing it to an extent. To an extent, not everyone's fully bought in this day and age. But the beautiful thing about COVID, when that, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know if you're banned anymore when you say that's so stupid. But
Yeah.
anyway, when that whole thing, the pandemic, we'll say, happened, everyone was forced to do digital marketing.
Mhm.
Everyone was forced, like they couldn't do it the old way anymore. And so what a lot of people thought was, well, I'll just do what I did offline online because now I'm online and I'm 3 feet in front of the whole world. So I
Yeah.
could just spam my social media. So they're spamming social media with their opportunities. And it's like, guys, that is not attraction marketing. And they think they're attraction marketers. Look, attraction marketing is different. It's
Yeah.
simple, but it does require learning some skills, and you're not vomiting on people. The magnet that you spoke about is the key. And at a soul level, if you get it, you get it because you understand that it's not about meeting people and trying to, on the first date, take them home and sleep with them. It's
Yeah.
literally you're bringing the most. well, I'm making a very bad analogy. It could go in terrible in so many ways, but
But
you're courting your
yes,
perfect prospects to you. You're attracting them to you. You're not chasing them; they're chasing you, and
the
that's the
analogy
distinction.
is the analogy is spot on. So I just want to give you some kudos there. I actually had a dude come out to my house. I think he was an electrician. I don't remember what it was for. He came out and I had my attraction marketing shirt on. And he's like, "Oh, dating service?" And I'm like, in a way of speaking. Hey, my friends, hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick minute and invite you to something very cool. If you are tired of following up with dead leads, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations online, if you're tired of chasing down friends, family, and people you work with just to get somebody interested in your business, and you would actually like to talk to highly qualified people who have a genuine interest in doing business with you, then we have our all digital 5-day boot camp that teaches you all the things that we do, and it will help you get 3 to 7 new customers each and every single week. That's our personal guarantee to you. If you want to take advantage of that, click the link directly below this, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. Now, let's get you back to the show. It was just funny. I didn't go much further than that. I just sort of let it brew inside of his head, but he kind of looked at it and I'm
That's
like,
hilarious.
yeah, because if
Well,
you
do you
think
want to hear
about it,
something? Do you guys
honestly,
want to hear
like,
a backstory about that? By the way,
yeah, I
this
do
is
actually.
this is super secret. Okay, is anyone listening? Okay, all right, here we go. So, attraction marketing, when Mike found it, magnetic sponsoring, he was studying the greats, Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, all that stuff. We know that. We talked about that. But Mike was also a single guy
Of
and he
course.
was deep in the dating niche. So
Okay,
he
here
was
we
studying a lot of these dating gurus, like at the time, David D'Angelo, whose real name
Yes.
is Evan, who's become a friend of ours or a friend of Mike's mostly. But like all these guys, like Neil Strauss, who wrote The Game. So it's the dating niche, y'all. Like a lot of this stuff, the whole attraction is not a choice and stuff like that. That's true. It's learning social dynamics and like social influence and learning how to harness influence. Like, and that is leadership. So even though tactically he learned from a lot from the dating niche, all he was really learning and applying and teaching was the elements and components of that. It wasn't about how to sleep with women. It was how to attract people to you that you wanted to attract to you. And how do you do that? Well, here's what's interesting. There's a book I read, I think it was about I don't remember, over 5 years, probably closer to 10 years ago, called The Charisma Myth. And I already kind of learned the idea of influence and how to like model it and practice it and how to use inflections and change your tone and lean in and whisper and do all that kind of stuff. I learned that stuff and I learned it tactically, but I didn't know how to teach that. But it turns out after reading Charisma Myth, I was like, oh, because the whole point of that book, you can go get it, it's a good book, but the whole point is anyone can learn the skills of charisma, right? And that's what Mike had. Mike's not like a super outgoing guy. He's not the guy who has a lot of inflections in his voice. He's very low voice, very monotone in some ways, but very influential, not in a Tony Robbins sense. So you can leverage your natural strengths in the way that you speak and talk and the way that you are and who you are. And you could still use strategies that bring people to you. And you have two options for doing that. If you want to know it in a nutshell, here it is. These are the two things that you need to learn. One of the two, at least. You either have to learn how to type or talk. That's it. If you can type really well, like write really well and influentially, then you don't have to get on video,
Yeah.
right? I think video is probably the most valuable medium you can possibly have right now. It's going to get you results faster, but you don't need it. But what is cool about learning how to write first or type is you can absolutely take those skills and apply them to video. So your videos are a lot stronger. And then you could learn the how to use your speech and how to use inflections and how to use tonality and all of that stuff to be more influential. So but it's learnable. That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do, like the at the core of it, attraction marketing is direct response marketing plus social dynamics, which is very much learning about human nature. It's psychology and understanding what is it that people want. How do I speak to them, meet them where they're at? How do I bring them on a journey from where they're at to what they want and help them see it and picture it in their minds and believe that they can accomplish it? And that's what marketing is in
Dude,
essence.
that's I love that you said that. That's a legit mic drop moment. And I think if more people understood that, even like I know we had some fun with the whole dating niche thing, but it's a pretty intimate exchange if you think about that. Like if you're in the dating niche, you're actually trying to find a mate, not just for a one night stand, but you're actually trying to have a relationship. You want to people that's a huge market, like an entire industry, the dating niche, both for men and for women. So if you learn those, like if you're going to have an intimate relationship with somebody where you're basically going to like live the rest of your life with that person, think about how the next most intimate exchange you can have with a human being is handing a credit card to him and saying, "Here, I trust you to run this thing and not take all my money." I mean, think about that. It's like, okay, I just met you online. I have this thing, this issue, this problem, this dream, whatever. You appear to have the solution to that. Let's do business. That's kind of like not too far away emotionally and sort of like deep down inside your brain where that influence has to be if you're going to have a mate, whether it be for one
Yes,
night or for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So I love that
so
there's that
incredibly
tie
true.
because we joke about it, but it's kind of the same. I mean, you're almost in that energetic state where it's okay, one thing's an exchange of your love, the other one's an exchange of your money. And if one of those things gets stripped from you, that can be painful. And so the guards are going to be up, which means your job as a marketer had better be you got to have your game dialed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to come off sleazy on one side or scummy on the other, or the same on either side. But you know what I mean? Like you've got to have those skills in place. And if you can learn to be, like you said it at the very beginning, it was one of my favorite things you've said so far is network marketing is relational. It is a relationship business. And if more people really took that on and said, "Hey, man, I'm here to build relationships, not just to build an income." Yeah, that's awesome, man. If you want to build 6, 7, 8 figure income, you're in the right place. You have that opportunity, that potential.
Right.
But dude, if your focus is on that, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be a rough ride. You may get
Mhm.
kicked off a few times before you learn the lesson that this is a relationship business. And if you build relationships, you will have more money than you'll know what to spend. And more importantly, you'll be more fulfilled than you ever were. I think that's the best part about it. So
It's
I
such
got to ask.
it's so true. And real quick, I just want to say, a lot of people say, yeah, the money's in the list or the money's in your network. But truly, and Mike demonstrated this, the money is in your relationship with your list. The money
Yes.
is in your relationship with your network. Because anyone can have a big network, but not everyone can have a network of people that are willing to basically do anything for you. And that's so key. And I just want to like talk about one of the tenets of attraction marketing real quick, which is called authentic influence. Because influence is a neutral thing. It's we're all influenced. There's influence every time we're on social media, every time we listen to the radio or TV, like anytime we're friends are talking to us, we're all influenced. And leveraging influence in a intentional way for a result that is beneficial to the person is not manipulation. That's pure influence, and
Mhm.
everyone needs to learn the skill of influence. But it all comes down to like, know, and trust. And that's the goal. And that's how you build a relationship. And so if you treat everyone like you're courting them for a relationship, like you care about them, if you follow the strategy of preeminence and you say, you know what? My goal is to give you so much value that even if you don't buy anything from me or join me, that you're still going to be better off than before you read my content, before you watched my video, before we had a conversation. And if I just have that top of mind and truly believe that I'm going to do everything I can to show value in advance to help this person become more educated or more informed and be just helpful to them, then you're going to stand out from every other network marketer. And that's authentic influence. That's how you do it. Is you take all the bullshit, you put it aside, and you say, "Hey, how can I serve this person?" You become a servant leader, and it takes that unselfish, like you can't have ulterior motives. You've got to have pure intent to help
Absolutely.
people in your content, in your speaking, in your conversations, in your products, in anything that you do. You're solving problems and you're truly wanting to do what's best for people. And that's authentic influence. That's how you build it. That's how you grow it.
Man, dude, another legit mic drop moment here because that's the I'm glad you took a moment just to depart off the conversation and talk about that because that authentic influence, you're right. We get influence whether we admit it or not. And I think sadly, more people are influenced whether they realize it or not in a not so productive way or healthy way. If you're
Mhm.
consuming a lot of social media, especially if you're consuming mainstream media, don't do that, by the way. You may as well be like smoking a pack of cigarettes and drinking a gallon of vodka every day because it's that
Mhm.
mentally like what it does to your mental health. But the thing is that you're when you are talking about this, the benefits, some of the byproducts of that, I will say this, and people either know this about you or they don't. You are one of the more influential people. You have created, I can't even put a number on it, but people in my personal network that I know, that I knew even before I met you, that were directly either influenced, taught by, or directly mentored by you. And what's crazy is if we started listing those names, people watching this and listening to this would be like, I did not know that that person learned from TJ. And the answer is absolutely. So that's sort of that like coaching tree, if you want to think of it that way. One name that pops to mind is Ferny Ceballos. And this is such a cool story. And I think a really important one because a lot of people know Fern. I've had Fern on the show,
Mhm.
had a conversation with him. We talked a little bit about his origin story, and one thing that he did mention was the kind of like a pivot moment in his life, his career was meeting you. What
Mhm.
was your memory of that? Like what stood out about Fern when you first met him, and talk to us a little bit about how it went from a basically a student, a mentee, you're mentoring him to now partners with attraction marketing.
Yeah, and now he's CEO. I stepped down as CEO, and
Yeah,
he's actually running the company, which is
that's
just
right.
awesome. I have so much gratitude for this entire journey that we've been on together for all these years. But yeah, let's talk about that because um, truly, when I talk about that authentic influence, and real quick, just to share, a lot of people use influence for selfish reasons. That's called manipulation. That's not what this is. So I just want to clarify that. But the epitome of a story of somebody leveraging true influence with the goal to help people is Fernie. Him, his partner Ray at the time, um, we had a social network. We thought, oh, okay, we're just going to create Facebook for network marketers, basically. No big deal. Like it should be easy. That's a whole nother story I won't get into, but we had a social network. And that social network was basically a community that we were building because at the time, I think MySpace had gotten some great success. So we thought, okay, well, we're gonna do this. And Fernie and his partner Ray found that community. They were customers of Magnetic Sponsoring, and they practiced the very same strategy that I talk about and that I teach. They learned skills and they shared what they were learning in that community. And they gave it away for free, man. And it was good stuff. Like they were deep into SEO, that's search engine optimization, how to get found on Google, basically, and getting results and just sharing everything they were doing without wanting anything, without asking for anything. They were just sharing what was working for them, their strategies. And so Mike and I saw them. I don't remember the exact conversation, but we're like, hey, we need to like talk to these guys. Don't remember who talked to him first. Maybe Fernie mentioned it in your interview, but I know that when we had a conversation, I'm like, I know Mike said you guys need to be charging for the amount of information you're giving away. I remember that. But I do remember that we decided to actually do a live event. So we're like, okay, so they were students of MLM Traffic Formula. That's the one that I co-authored with Mike, and they applied search engine optimization and took it to the next level, like way better than I did. And so we were like, hey man, let's put on this event in Austin. You can co-lead it. So it was me and Mike, and then mostly led by Fernie and Ray. We're teaching what they'd learned from MLM Traffic Formula applied in the real world. And then we're teaching it to network marketers who wanted to learn how to drive traffic, generate leads, and enroll people into their business, all on the internet. And that was in 2007 or eight. Don't remember which. It was MLM Traffic Formula Live, and got to meet them in person, drink some margaritas with them at Mike's house. It was awesome. But yeah, those guys, especially Ferny, just again, like same thing as Mike. He was the type that executed. He didn't ask questions. He didn't hem and haw. He didn't make money an excuse. He found a way to execute, found a way to do it all the time. And it's just, I've done this business. I've been in this business. I've been in the mentorship business for I don't even know how long. 2001 maybe. I've been teaching and training people, and there's certain traits and characteristics where I know immediately that person has it and they're going to be success. And when I met Fernie and talked to him for the first time, I was like, he has it. He's going to be a success. And he's so different, such a different type of influence than me, because his influence is very quiet. He was an engineer and he's really good at figuring stuff out. He's not the most like charismatic in the way he speaks. He's similar to Mike Dillard. Mike's very matter of fact. But man, did that guy execute, and man, did he have the ability to share and teach people and help people get results. And he came at it from that authentic place, authentic influence. And that's how we met. And that's how he just absolutely showed us that the character and revealed who he was as a human. And we wanted to work with him, and we continued working with him for years. We did events together, and basically created an offer where we'd work with them and mentor people together. So I don't remember what year that was, but it was called No Excuses, an event that Fernie and his partner Ray created back in the day. They really broke the mold with that event because nobody else was doing this. I got picked up in a limo. I got put in a suite. I got treated like nobody was doing this. It was these guys just went out of their way to like roll out the red carpet and make this an event that nobody else has experienced before, not just from the speakers, but all the attendees. And we promoted it, we got it filled up, and it was awesome. And we did that event for many, many years. Ramiro, who's behind the scenes doing the sound effects and recording this, was there for the entire thing too. And he produced these events. Hat tip to Ramiro. But man, yeah, worked with Fernie for years. And then at the point when it was after Mike had retired, and I was struggling with the company, I needed help. And again, I found that we were in a place where it was a grind for me, and I wasn't loving the company I built. And so Fernie was in a place where he was willing to roll in the event and partner with us. And so we did a great, one of the best deals I've ever done in my life for a business partner. And he rolled his event and his intellectual property into the company, helped reinvigorate it and get it back running strong again. His book, Attraction Marketing Formula, still to this day on iteration number 3 or whatever it's on right now, still our best selling front end product that people get introduced to this idea of attraction marketing through. Just keeps going. It's the product that never quits, man. It's just crazy. So Fernie was absolutely instrumental in getting the company to where it is now. And that's why I had no reservation whatsoever about handing the baton over to him. He was running it, honestly, between us. Again, no one's listening, right? Fernie was the de facto CEO for years before I officially resigned. So it wasn't like shocking to anyone. It wasn't like weird for anyone because he belonged there. He belongs there. So yeah, that's kind of how we got to where we are today, man, with Fernie.
That's a cool story, man. And yeah, he's in his zone, dude. Like he's in a great place. And I remember even it was a little over a year ago, we had one of our big events, and in person, Los Angeles, the whole thing. You guys were up on stage, you and Fern, and you had, I don't know if you had planned it or if it just kind of came off. It was obviously very ingenuous or ingenuous. You meant it, is what I'm trying to say. The word escaped me, but it was a really cool moment between the two of you. You'd kind of mentioned and gave a hat tip to him about how far he'd come and how proud you were of him and all these kinds of things. Clearly, meant a lot to him. What does it mean to you to be able to watch a student do that? Like to basically come on and now carry the mission forward. What does that mean to you?
It's so incredibly gratifying, and that's not from a place of ego because I didn't like. Here's the thing about mentorship and true mentors, and by the way, I use this as a litmus test for picking a mentor. The goal of the best mentors in the world is that your students will exceed what you do and actually be better than you. And if they're and there's this like whole what is it, the however many laws of power, Robert Greene, never outshine the master. Like
48.
48, that's what it is. Interesting book. I actually liked it. I thought it was great. But a true mentor wants the student to outshine them. And Fernie's been able to do that. And in so many ways, like he's the when I'm a kind of like tear it all down guy. Like if something's not working, let's just rip it apart, tear it down, start over from scratch. I'm quick and violent, man, in my skills. And Fernie was this necessary, essential rock to keep things stable and keep them going. And like I don't, the company wouldn't be where it is. So to see him in that role and succeeding and still continuing this legacy of making this impact in this industry and taking it to the next iteration, next generation of network marketers, just there's nothing like it. And every time I have a student that outshines me or does better than me, I'm always just incredibly grateful and gratified and appreciative. And I want them to win, and I'll do anything I can to help them win. And so I know he's got this. He's doing great, and it's going to be in a better place in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now than it is even today. And so it's just great. There's nothing that I mean. It's not like I'm proud of you. It's I'm impressed by you
Yeah.
because he did it.
Yeah.
He did it. I didn't do it. There may be some things that I facilitated him learning early on, but he's the one who did it. And that goes for everyone here. It's great to have a mentor, but there's a point when you have to early on, hopefully, take personal responsibility and ownership for the results that you get. Good, positive, negative, doesn't matter. You own those results. A mentor's job isn't to spoon feed you and tell you what to do. It's to facilitate you stepping into the best you can be, to facilitate you becoming the leader you are meant to be. And that's what Fernie is able to do with students. And that's what makes me so impressed and so gratified to have him leading the charge now with attraction
Yeah.
marketing.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that story. I think it's important for folks just to get a sense for how deep the roots are here. It gives a lot of credence to just how strong the foundations are, not just with the company itself, not just with, the way it's structured, but also just how deep that knowledge base goes and how it's not something that, oh, we just sort of tried something out. We had a few people think that it sounded pretty good. So now we're just going to pump it out there as a product, which sadly kind of happens a lot. You'll see people that just sort of, they haven't really tested a lot, didn't have a lot of people run it through. And it seemed like a cool idea. So they put it out as a product. People try it, they buy it, and they either get results or they don't. Attraction marketing is basically, it is a legacy type of movement, which I think is just cool. Very something I'm proud of. And I know you are as well. I want to shift gears back to you a little bit here. We got a few more minutes left, and then I'm going to go into some rapid fire questions for you. But I have been dying to ask you just sort of a couple of things. Almost feel like it's like a multi-pointed question, and I'm going to do my best to ask it in a way that makes sense. How you answer it is entirely up to you. Through just all of your experience in the years you've been in the industry, the reps you've put in the industry, how much interface you've had with great names, and we could name drop all day, and how many people you've mentored. You also are a real pioneer and trailblazer. I want to say that, and I know that might sound kind of hyperbolic, so just forgive me if it does, but somebody who's bringing to bear the powerful tool of AI in a way that's effective, not hypey. You're actually teaching the deep skills, right? Just staying on brand
Mhm.
with the way you've always done things, TJ. Talk to us a little bit about what the future of not just network marketing, but digital marketing looks like, as far as AI is involved, and what we as a practitioner of business would need to know in order to leverage it so that it becomes a powerful tool and not our overlord or something that's intimidating and we don't want to use.
Such a great question. So here's the thing about AI and any technology for that matter is if you try to use it as a hack to get results, you're going to become a hack. Like that's just how it works. You cannot skip the skills that we teach, and you cannot outsource or abdicate your creativity, your ingenuity, your experiences to AI. So think of AI as a partner, as a collaborative partner in creating epic shit, because that's what it does. That's its function. And I think, the skills we teach today, marketing, influence, leadership, all of those are pretty synonymous, really. But they're meta skills. They're skills that will serve you for the rest of your life. And I think we can add to that skill set the ability to interface and interact and collaborate with AI as one of those meta skills that I think everyone needs to learn. And so a lot of people have this misconception about what AI is. First of all, they might think it's ChatGPT. That is a large language model. It does have artificial intelligence abilities, like you can have conversations with it and stuff, but AI is so much more encompassing. Today, I went to jujitsu and came home from jujitsu, and I didn't touch the steering wheel or the gas pedal. How come? Because AI drove me there. I sat back and just watched. It did it all for me. And that's like people don't understand how disruptive in a positive way, and for some people, a negative way, especially those who do not adopt the strategy of being able to work with AI.
Mhm.
But it is the most disruptive technology we will see in our lifetimes. And it's getting better. The curve, the S curve for improvement and the intelligence of machine learning, of artificial intelligence in all aspects is absolutely unheard of historically. We've never seen anything advance this quickly because once you start leveraging artificial intelligence to improve artificial intelligence, it creates this compounding, accelerated effect of just making things go extremely fast. The future is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's not at the place right now where it can replace a human being. And it will never be in a place where it can replace you as long as you understand the skills that we talked about before. Because in an era of AI, when every hack out there is trying to hack AI to become an influencer, a thought leader, or whatever, and throwing out AI vomit on social media, this is the time for you to lean into it to become more efficient using proven frameworks and strategies, but never abdicate your thinking, your creativity, your experiences, what makes you uniquely you to AI. You leverage AI to enhance and amplify those aspects of yourself. And that is how you do it. And that you can replace an entire marketing team. You can replace an entire sales team, a creative team now with AI. It's just incredibly, it's leveled the playing field more than anyone. And right now, at this particular time in this S curve, we're in the pre-mass adoption phase. And what's beautiful about that is we have this window of time where we can leverage that. A lot of these bigger companies, a lot of the network marketing leaders, they're not savvy to it yet. And so they're not using it. And those that are trying to use it aren't using it effectively. Again, they're abdicating their thinking to AI, and that's not what it's for. But honestly, if you want to learn AI, I think that's a very smart thing to do. Learn how to speak to it, interface with it, collaborate with it in a way that amplifies who you are. That's a meta skill and one that's worthwhile learning. In fact, it's the most important skill in this new era that we're in if you want to be a digital network marketer and have the kind of leverage and time freedom and be able to really distribute value infused content in a way that nobody else is able to do because they don't understand that skill set yet.
Oh man, so well said. I had a guy ask me this a while back. Are you afraid of AI taking over in airplanes? I'm a former pilot, right? And I'm like, no, I'll tell you. I told him, I'll tell you the same thing I tell my entrepreneur students and my leadership students. We had an autopilot and we flew with it quite often. You did it because if you didn't fly with autopilot, you become very fatigued, and it actually would turn into a safety of flight type of issue. So if you're flying just right now, you go fly from East Coast to West Coast, the pilots are going to have the autopilot on pretty much from takeoff to landing, more or less. The reason for that is so they don't get fatigued and so they can also monitor all kinds of different things and make sure that the aircraft is as efficient as it can, as well as safe. The thing is, those pilots know at every given moment where they are, and if the autopilot ever kicks off, mine kicked off over Afghanistan. Like it just like let go right before we were going to hit the
Wow.
target. It was like, oh my gosh, it was one of those like holy crap moments, right? So it was one of those things where as a pilot, you're always sort of aware of where you're at, what the aircraft's doing, and where you're going. Same thing in business. Same thing with, especially with network marketing. If you think AI is basically autopilot. It will get you there faster. It'll be really efficient. It'll give you great feedback, great input. You'll have probably better content than you would, perhaps. It gives you great business strategies. I wish we had more time because I would love to get into the strategic advisor that you built for it. Like that is a whole podcast in and of itself. We should probably do that. That conversation's hilarious, and even a demo for how you made it work for you. Basically, it's just to give you guys, the viewers, TJ built himself a strategic advisor using AI. That's a whole story for another podcast. Stay tuned. But it's like if you just said, okay, I'm just write my content for me, it's analogous to a pilot not even watching their instruments. And now all of a sudden, instead of being over Topeka, Kansas, you're over the Mediterranean. You're like, how did I get here? I'm almost out of fuel. I'm supposed to be in Kansas. So that's where you got to be really on top of it. And I think, just the way you describe that, it is still a skill-based, it's a tool. That's all it is. If you don't know have the skills
Mhm.
to use the tool is just this sort of inert thing that's kind of neat to have, but you're not going to leverage it to the extent that it needs to be leveraged. Question for you, not to put any doom and gloom on this, but I got a question before we go into rapid fire. And I asked Ferny something similar to this. Future of the industry. If the industry is going to survive, if it's going to thrive, what needs to change and what needs to stay? In other words, what do we need to, as leaders in the industry, we got to all see ourselves as a leader. What do we need to be doing to ensure that maybe do something differently? And then one thing that we need to just scale, keep doing more of, what would you say?
I think the industry must shift from join my deal, buy my stuff, to value in advance and building your own audience and owning assets, creating and owning assets. We've just seen this happen in a very large company with many friends of ours that were involved, where that company went out of business. They're going to be okay because they followed that rule. They built an audience, they own their customer data. And so I think that's where we need to go moving forward. Um, so the future of our company is literally just to empower people to do that. And that's what we've always been about. That doesn't change. But what does change tactically is how you do that. And today with, artificial intelligence, as we just talked about, and automation systems, as technology improves, it does make it um, easier than ever to really level the playing field for everyone. But but, and this is a big but, you have to learn the skills. You cannot bypass learning the skill. These are paramount, y'all. Like direct response marketing. Yes, Claude, for example, is great at writing copy if you train it to do that. Like, we're
Mhm.
not getting into AI model training or anything like that. And it can write it like a great copywriter. But how do you know if you've never seen great copy before? So you have to be able to identify and understand what makes great content or great copy great. What about that makes it powerful? A lot of people want to like use AI videos. Fine. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get JT and I having this conversation. Will it get to that point? Maybe. I think it will eventually be pretty engaging and entertaining, but it's still artificial. And people know that. And they're always going to know that. So I think the future is collaborative with AI and learning how, as it continues to develop and it's doing it at an extremely fast pace, just learning how to interact with it. And the good news is you don't have to stay on top of everything that's happening in AI, but there are certain things that you probably want to know if you want to be on the cutting edge. And that's what we're committed to teaching people how to do. And when I say we, I'm saying attraction marketing. I'm no longer operationally involved in the company. I'm more board level, but I know Ferny's got his focus on future proofing the industry and teaching them the skills that matter as we move into this era that, again, I don't think people are ready for the disruption that's going to happen with AI. I think a lot of efficiency is going to, it's actually kind of, and we're not going to get into economic discussion, but um, technology like this is deflationary. It creates more efficiency. You can create more stuff faster and easier, and you can create more value in society better and more efficiently and faster with artificial intelligence. On the flip side, artificial intelligence will replace certain skills. And so it's going to force people they're going to have to shift. They're going to have to pivot and they're going to have to adapt to the new situation. And those that fail to are going to be the blockbusters. Like Netflix destroyed Blockbuster because Blockbuster did not face reality, did not pivot fast enough to be able to compete with Netflix.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with AI. So we have to be aware. We can't put our head in the sand. We can't ignore it. We can't pretend it's not here because it is here to stay and it's only going to get better. And if you're not on board with that, then you're frankly going to miss out on the opportunity. Not only that, but if you're not willing to learn new skills and how to interact and engage with AI, then you're not gonna win in life. So I just truly think that that's what it's all about.
Dude, that
And then
is
the last
so
thing I'll
good.
say with regards to this is that network marketing is about helping people, and it's helping people to achieve results. And how do you do that? You educate, teach, inform. That's how you do it. And that's how you practice the skill of leadership is you educate, you teach, and you inform. And you don't have to be the expert. You could be the tour guide and take them on the journey. And so in the future, that's what we're going to do is we're going to be very authentic, but also influential by just sharing, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's how I'm building my business. Do you want to come on this journey with me as I learn? And if you do that, that by itself is going to set you apart in an industry of Me Too marketers. And everyone's swimming in the sea of sameness, and everyone's doing the same boring stuff that doesn't work, that everyone ignores. If you just do what we just shared, double down on the skills of attraction marketing, leverage AI effectively, and learn the skills of AI, you're going to do awesome. And that's what we're committed to. That's what attraction marketing is committed to.
I love it, man. I appreciate that. Well, look, before we wrap, I want to ask a couple of rapid fire questions, just real quick. Top of mind, first thing that comes to mind. If you had one skill that you wish like you could just telegraph that people would be obsessed with learning all the stuff, the AI and all the tools are great, but the one skill that would help them, because you mentioned like successful in life too, that would help them be successful in business, but also in their life, what would it be?
I think marketing is too broad. Um, Marketing encompasses a lot of different skills. I'd say the one skill would probably be copywriting.
Nice.
Copywriting is where I started. It teaches you by almost, if you, this is one of the things where you can treat it like you're emulating or copying. And in fact, what people do is they sit down and on paper, I didn't do this personally, but a lot of people that learn copywriting, they'll sit down and handwrite a sales letter, just handwrite it with pen or pencil or whatever, the entire sales letter, because that creates that mocking of the copy, of writing the copy and you doing it with your hands and engaging motor skills to do it. You're engaging all different aspects of your brain to learn this skill quickly, and that's super powerful. I think it's the most valuable skill because really what copywriting is influence in print or in writing, and it's one dimensional. So you're at a disadvantage with one dimensional influence because you have to write in a way that's engaging and clear and brings people on a journey to of understanding what it is you have to offer, seeing themselves being able to use it and get results from it, and then saying yes to your offer and buying from you or joining your team. And so learning that skill set, I think, is super powerful because if you could do it one dimensionally and learn the process and strategy of copywriting, you can then take it to other modalities like the one we're doing right now and still use that and
Mhm.
do it with authenticity because it becomes who you are because you've practiced the skill of copywriting. So I'd say that's probably, no, that's definitely the number one skill. And then the second one, just as a close second, but I don't think it replaces it yet, is learning how to leverage AI effectively and properly.
Nice. Awesome. So it's often said the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ones who succeeded just refuse to quit. Dark night of the soul, somebody's on the verge. What do you tell them if they're like, I don't think I can do this anymore? And we're talking about business. What would you say?
Mhm. Well, I have great news because if you're in the dark night of the soul phase, if you're feeling like throwing your hands up in the air and giving up, if you're feeling like maybe you're just not cut out for this, then you're on the verge of your breakthrough. If you're so frustrated and ready to and willing to give up, you're about to break through. And what most people unfortunately do is when they hit this point, they throw their hands up in the air and they say, I quit. And they don't ever do it again. And they just go back to their mediocre lives and they never, ever have success. But you're not going to do that. You're going to push through. And it might require you to have a reality check and take a real look at, hey, what have I been doing? And there's three questions that we always ask our students. Hat tip again to the Dunkleys for sharing this with us. But we tend to focus on the negative. And when we're in that dark night of the soul, it's all negative. It seems all negative. But we always have to understand what worked, what didn't work, and what we might do differently. Because you can stay unresourceful and stuck and in the muck, um, or you can decide to be resourceful and break through. And it really does come down to asking yourself different questions, the questions that leaders ask themselves that allow them to break through that dark night of the soul into success. So you're right there. You're close. That might be finding a mentor. It might be, investing in yourself. It might be, I don't know what the answer is for you, but what I do know is every single person who succeeded has the story of being exactly where you are. So no matter how hopeless it seems to you, there is a future and it is bright if you can push through this part of it and move forward and don't ever give up on your dreams. Um, it sounds cliche and cheesy, but like, just don't give up on your dreams. Like, truly believe you can do this and don't give yourself an out. Hold yourself up to a higher standard. Don't allow yourself to quit and just say, oh, you know what? My friends were right. Don't do that. Don't, don't even make it an option. Burn the bridges and really step into your leadership and who you are meant to be because you started on this journey for a reason. You thought to yourself, I am a leader. I am a top producer. I am a fill in the blank. And if you just keep moving forward, stepping forward, eventually you'll step into that and you will arrive there and you'll be able to look back. And I want you to think about this too. 1 year from today, 2 years from today, are you going to look back at this moment of being in the dark night of the soul with regret, or are you going to look at it with appreciation? The difference is what you do now. Because if you throw your hands up and you say, I quit, you're going to look at this with regret for the rest of your life. If you in the situation you're at and you're like, I'm going to take one foot, put it in front of the other, and I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to look at my resources. I'm going to get help. I'm going to ask myself powerful questions that help me shift into resourcefulness and move forward in my business. Then you're going to look back a year from now, 2 years from now with gratitude for the journey and say, you know what? I passed the trial by fire. I passed exactly what every great leader, every person of influence, every single person historically that's done great things has passed through that trial by fire. And so I want you to look at it with gratitude, and I want you to say, hell yeah, I did it. I made it. And that's a choice that you have right now.
TJ Erway, my man. That's great, dude. Good stuff, bro. I appreciate the time together. I have about 47 pages of questions I could keep asking you, and that's very little. That's probably just the top tip of the iceberg. We got to have you back on the show, dude. It's been awesome, man. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they learn more about attractionmarketing.com?
Well, you just said it. Go to attractionmarketing.com. This is about your journey on network marketing. We would love to help facilitate your growth and learn the skills of authentic influence, how to attract an audience, how to grow that audience and grow influence with that audience, how to effectively enroll people in your business and grow your team and create duplication. That's what we do. We work with everyone, or I would say attraction marketing, not we anymore, but attraction marketing works with everyone at every phase of their journey, whether you're just starting out or whether you're a multiple 7-figure or even 8-figure producer. We work with you, or attraction marketing works with you at all phases of your business. So definitely go check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Awesome, man. Again, so much appreciation and gratitude for all you've done for the industry, for me personally, and just what you've done here. I love this conversation. Can't wait to do it again. Can't wait to see you very soon, bro.
Likewise. Thanks,
All
man.
right.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for TJ Erway. Stay tuned for another episode of the Attraction Marketing Show. We will come at you with a new guest very soon. Stay tuned. And in the meantime, attractionmarketing.com, your home for all the information about attraction marketing. See you soon. Hey, what's up, my friends? Hope you enjoyed that show. Hope you got some great value from the content, and hope you enjoyed our conversation with our speaker. I want to just remind you, if you are ready to stop chasing people and start having people chase you, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations all the time, and you'd rather have 3 to 7 highly qualified customers each and every single week coming to you in your inbox, you are invited to grab our free 5-day digital bootcamp that will teach you how to attract the right kind of people, create the kind of influence so you can start enrolling those 3 to 7 customers each and every single week. And you can get that at the link below, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. That's attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. And if you got some great value from the show and you want to stay in touch, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and of course, share this message far and wide. There will be much more conversations just like this one coming at you very soon. Look forward to having you with us here with the Attraction Marketing Show.